Poor things. Okay, this movie is very controversial. A lot of people are assuming intent. So if I can ask you to just view it through the lens of a person, just a person who happens to be a woman, and a coming of age film through this like avant-garde art house lens of storytelling. Just put it on pause for a second. All right? This movie is a take on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and I actually studied and performed in a play on Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, so that's neat. This film talks about politics, philosophical, moral dilemmas, classism, freedom, society, gluttony, and satiating all of your desires. Absolutely unreal, exquisite filmmaking. The cinematography, set and costume design, the editing, wow. By far the most niche, stylized, eccentric, just bold art house project I've ever seen in mainstream media. So that is very interesting. I like the creativity that we're seeing. This movie amalgamates different styles, different lenses. It integrates black and white and then color. It's just so out there and surreal. The black and white is when Bella is primitive, so she's just kind of starting out. And it comes into color when Bella's world stops being dull and it's filled with life. And that's where the very oversaturated fantastical skies and colors come in. That's how she's seeing the world until she matures, and then it comes back into that muted color palette. This movie's like a darker or more mature version of Barbie, and neither claim to be like 100% perfect representations of feminism. No, I do not believe that the character Bella was a toddler with Duncan. It's not entirely clear at all, but she might only start her sexual self-exploration in her teens, which is by far way too young to have sex with an adult, obviously. Your prefrontal cortex only fully develops when you're over 25, so no, that's not okay. While Duncan saw that she was odd, I don't think he understood how young her mind was at all. Like, her body is a fully formed adult, right? That's, keep that in mind. However, while Duncan is objectively wrong for what he did, Max actually did know the situation, and he took care of her. Would we not all, if we saw even a fully grown adult woman, if we saw her be unconscious and naked, would we not immediately look away? Like, oh no, why are you lingering so long, buddy? That really unsettled me. I'm just gonna say it. He ended up being the nice guy. He hesitates. He agrees to marry this person who cannot consent. Pessimistic indication on humanity. And that's not just men. So that's where it's coming full circle. All the women in this film are also flawed. I think this is more of a call to all of humanity versus just feminism. It shows the flaws in human nature inherently and how we can, as autonomous adults, choose to do better and be better. I do not believe that the movie is condoning or glorifying underage assault with Bella having sex. Her brain develops much more rapidly than a normal person. They explicitly state that her body is growing more rapidly with her hair growing faster. So I personally, subjectively, thought that she was maybe up to even 28 by the end of the movie. And I don't believe actually that Bella's displaying what a child would be like while growing up. Look at the way she walks, that apathetic, flat affect.
You aim to trap Bella at sea.
Value time, dear God. Bella's dizzy with excitement.
Her face has very, very little facial expressions or empathy for the most part. She, to me, reads more like alien-esque or a Frankenstein, a monster. Seen with the animal mutts, the mutations, obviously this film isn't grounded in a scientific realism or taken at face value. So I really, really think that they meant it differently than her being a full-on child. I mean, it's still uncomfortable, but that's just my interpretation of this very artsy, out there film, okay? Now, that is simply about the age thing. He completely non-consensually assaulted her. I absolutely would have appreciated 70% less sex, and it would have done the same thing for the story. It got redundant and frankly boring. It was gratuitous. We did not need to see her body that much. It lost my interest so much along with a few other things that I'm actually not entirely sure that I would enjoy the movie as a whole if I wasn't into film and like making these videos for you on YouTube. But I am a filmmaker and I love surreal, confusing media. Like Poor Things very much intrigued me. Same with Bella's Afraid and Saltburn. But I don't think that the average, mainstream viewer knows what they're in for when viewing this. So what is the sex theme for? It's to show us the over-sexualization, but the infantilization and control of women. And again, this is a person who happens to be a woman, so she does still face the trials and tribulations of what being a woman means. Bella isn't made to represent every single woman's lived experience. It's her own unique anecdotal experience. She is free from the shackles of society's shame, responsibilities, and rules, and this freedom allows her curiosity for logical learning, her need to seek out satisfaction for all of her desires. She wants something, and she seeks to satiate that desire. Pretty much like how an animal might live out their day-to-day lives. And that is why I think it's so obvious that it's not meant to represent every single woman. It is simply her own experience in this world. And then again, of course, every single man in her life wanted her or to control her in some way. She just wanted autonomous freedom to choose for herself, that choice to learn. But that doesn't mean, I think, that the movie is trying to make this like a female liberation movie, because she keeps choosing to be caged. She had this pretty free life with Max if she married him, but she just wanted to learn. And she went through many schools of philosophy, rationalism, nihilism, Marxism, many more, but she learned a bit of empathy. I'll get back to that in a second. How to sort of fit into society in ways that actually does have benefits by the end. And there at the end we see like this is a group of women, they're supporting each other. Though I found it very interesting how the maid finally has this bit of freedom. So right, she can relax a bit, but makes Felicity now bound to service, taking away her freedom a bit. How ironic. You would think that she would empathize, take her under her wing, teach her, be close to her, but she is now the servant. This might be while Felicity is still young, especially since Bella doesn't seem to display like jealousy. It's just, there's this ominous undertone that I personally picked up seeing that. It's like this cycle continuing ever more. She is selfish. She keeps choosing the thing that will serve her. She doesn't have the empathy that she should. Although she cried at those kids, it feels like it was so brief. Anyways, I was also surprised that they didn't put Dr. Godwin's brain in Alfie's body, come full circle. In a sense, Bella becomes the new god. She's clearly in charge here. She's the head of the house now, and she just puts the goat's brain in her dad's body. So Godwin, he's named after Mary Shelley's father, William Godwin. It's a bit of like double entendre with the religious themes, but it's also named after somebody. I love so many things about this movie from a filmmaking perspective. I do love the layers and complexity, leaving room for media literacy and subjective interpretation. I eat that up, and that is specifically why Barbie lacked, in my personal opinion. I don't want everything like spoon-fed to you on a silver platter. I like allegory, metaphor, racking my brain to understand it. With Poor Things, it had that, but I don't know, I just felt it needed a bit more heart. So I didn't feel moved by the end. Maybe we could have lingered on that deeper friendship and community that those women might have had. And I don't need it to be overtly explained if they're lovers, it could be a polyamorous thing, but I would have loved to just dive deeper into that community. Bella's character fell flat and robotic for me personally, in the same way that the main character in Swarm did, and I know the characters are literally written this way, but I guess I need them to not feel the exact same way for most of it. Another gripe I have is the lack of reality. So you can't apathetically just decide something is stupid or no, I'm leaving. Oh, okay. And then walk away. I didn't feel the fear to the real life implications of being assaulted, working as a sex worker, kidnapped, genital mutilation, like all those things. Most people don't make it out of those situations, and not because they weren't smart enough or brave enough. And I don't think that's at all what the movie is trying to say, like victim blaming, but I just think Bella's character trying to overcome these hurdles could have shown more tension. Even from a remotely storytelling point of view, we were never in doubt that Bella would make it out of these situations, right? The audience needs to kind of like grip the edge of their seat and then have that tension and then breathe a sigh of relief once we overcome the ebb and flow of any good storytelling. So we did lack that. It was kind of just, you know, not like the arcs. All that being said, this was still an absolute masterpiece in cinematography, and it was very, very interesting to watch. I'm excited about how this might encourage and inspire a whole new wave of media coming forward in mainstream media.